Here's our bell work for today. What is the correct name for CaCl2? Calcium chloride.
Use my cheat sheet without work.
For now, you can. What about correct name for Fe2S3? Iron 3 sulfide. And what is the correct name for NO2? Nitrogen dioxide. Awesome. Alright, so some simple mole calculations. These are going to be 1- and 2-step calculations. Formula mass is also going to be called gram formula mass, molecular mass, gram molecular mass, formula weight, gram formula weight, molecular weight, gram molecular weight, molar mass, and molar weight. So, and we know that the mass of 1 mole compound or atom or ion. Compound, atom, or ion. Find the formula mass for each of the following. So first of all, we need to know how to write the formula. So sodium chloride, the formula is NaCl. When you're doing your homework and it says show your work, then show your work. And if you on a math problem or a quiz or test problem, you need to show your work so that I can go back and see if you actually did the science right. And that way you can at least get some type of credit. So go to your periodic table, and those are the periodic tables that are the blue ones that we have. And you see that these periodic tables here go to 2 decimal places. So we'll go to 2 decimal places as we find our molar mass. So we have sodium and chlorine. Sodium is 22.99 and chlorine is 35.45. So put that in the calculator and get me a number. What'd y'all get? 58.44. And that is grams per mole. Arsenic trichloride, AsCl3. As is 74.92 plus chlorine, which is 35.45, and there are 3 of them, and we get what? 145? I got 181.2. 7. All right, any questions on how to find molar mass? So you're going to find me skipping around in some of these things as we work. I'm not going to work everything with you guys. So measurements of matter can be measured in 3 different ways. You can do it in moles of a compound, and that's going to be equal to your formula mass in grams of the compound. You have the mole of an element is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23 atoms of that element, or the mole of a compound is also represented by 6.02 times 10 to the 23 particles or atoms of that compound. So remember, the mole is links us to grams and to molecules. And when we get to gases, 2 liters. So we usually just say molecule instead of formula unit. Remember, molecule is covalent, formula unit is ionic, but we just really call them all molecules. So let's do some conversions. All right, how many moles are in 18 grams of sugar? So we have where we are and where we're wanting to get. So 18 grams of C6H12O6. And I need to go from grams to moles. So what takes me from grams to moles?
Divide by the
Molar mass. So in 1 mole of sugar, go and get me the molar mass of sugar. 181 or 180.1 what? 8 grams. So our answer needs to be in 3 sig figs because it's 18.0 grams. So do you guys get 1.00 moles? C6H12O6. How many of y'all, it's been 2 years since you had one? Okay. So if you stop me and let me know if I'm pulling a number out from somewhere. Yes. Huh? 0.11? 0.1? Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you. 0.100 moles. Because our question goes back, and there's 3 sig figs in the question. All right, the next one, we have the 4. And if I put something down wrong, yes, please correct me. 4.5 moles of barium sulfide. So our formula for barium sulfide is BaS. And we're going from moles to mass. So what is the mass of 1 mole of barium sulfide? 169 point what? 39. And we multiply those two into 3 sig figs. What do we get as our answer? $762 grams of barium sulfide. Next, how many molecules are in 28.6 moles of nitrogen gas? So we're going from moles to molecules. All right, so we have 28.6 moles of nitrogen gas, and it wants to know how many molecules. So how do we get from moles to molecules? Avogadro's number, and in 1 mole we have 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. So how many molecules are in nitrogen gas? To 3 sig figs. 1.72 times 10 to the 25 molecules of N2. We will have 10 minutes at the end of this class. Yeah. This time, how many moles are in 3.90 times 10 to the 28 molecules of methane? So we start out with 3.9 times 10 to the 28 molecules of CH4. And we're going to moles this time. So in 1 mole, we have 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. And to 3 sig figs, we get 64,800. So it really irritates the AP readers if you don't put that into scientific notation. So just go ahead and put it into scientific notation. Just get in the habit. 6.48 times 10 to the 8th moles of methane. I mean, they're not going to count you wrong, but after reading 800 tests, they're probably not going to be happy. And the last one is kind of tricky. It says, how many atoms of oxygen are in 2.5 moles of oxygen gas? Diatomic alarm should be ringing in your head. This one is sneaky. So we know that there are 2.5 moles of oxygen gas. And for every 1 mole of oxygen gas, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. So we're in molecules of O2. And we know that for every 1 molecule of oxygen, how many atoms of oxygen are there? 2. So there are 2 atoms of oxygen. So the 2 sig figs, so I get 3.0 times 10 to the 24th atoms of O. Any questions on that? So you just have to make sure and read and the difference between molecules and atoms when they're talking about those diatomics like that. Okay, so let's go to 2 and 3 steppers. I'm going to work just a few of these. If you should have problems when you go to do your homework, or if you're still confused, come see me and we can work the ones I didn't work. We can work those out together. So we're going to put this into a 2-step process. So how many molecules are in 198.5 grams of sodium chloride? So we know that we have 198.5 grams of sodium chloride. And a while ago, did we find the mass of sodium chloride as 58.44? So in 1 mole of sodium chloride, the mass is 58.44 grams. And we have to go to molecules. So in 1 mole, there is always 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules, or formula unit. And so to 4 sig figs, 2.045 times 10 to the 24th molecules or formula units of sodium chloride. Questions on that one? All right, let's go to 6. Do I need to wait a second? Everybody's good. All right, 900 and so how many molecules are in 937 grams of calcium acetate? So we have 937 grams of calcium acetate. So we need the formula of calcium acetate. Yes, Ca, open parentheses, C2H3O2, and there's 2 of them. Okay. And we're in grams, and we need to get to molecules, so we need the mass of sodium acetate. I have 158.17. Did y'all get that? Or somewhere close to that? I was using a different periodic table.
You said
158 point what? 1.8. I had 1.7, so yeah. So we'll go with 1.8 grams. And we know that in 1 mole, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. So we need 3 sig figs. 3.57 times 10 to the 24th molecules of CaC2H3O2. Okay, so this is going to be a lot. The mole is very crucial to us this year. So knowing how to solve for it is going to save your life. I'm skipping 7 and 8. So let's go down to number 9, because number 9 is kind of different. Number 9 says how many atoms of chlorine are in 654.5 grams of calcium chloride. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to get this down to the mole. So we have to go through the mole to get to wherever we need to go. So 654.5 grams of calcium chloride, CaCl2, times the molar mass of calcium chloride. So in 1 mole of CaCl2, I have 110, what'd y'all get? 110 point what? 98 grams. And we know so that we have to go to atoms. So CaCl2 is a formula unit or a molecule, so we know that in every 1 mole of CaCl2, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules, or formula units of CaCl2. So in each formula unit, So in one molecule or formula unit of CaCl2, how many atoms of chlorine are there? There are 2 atoms of chlorine. So 7.101 times 10 to the 24th atoms of chlorine. So that's more like a 1, 2, I guess that's a 3-stepper. Any questions on that one? I want to do one more, and then we are moving on. So 10, I'm going to, and 12. So if that's extra practice you need, then go back and look at those. But let's do number 11. How many grams of magnesium are in 5.55 times 10 to the 26 molecules of magnesium sulfide? So 5.55 times 10 to the 26 molecules. You know, I would probably be smart if I didn't do my recording during this class because of the bell. MgS. And we know that in every 1 mole of MgS, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. And we need the grams of magnesium. So we know if we have MgS, we know that in this formula unit, if we have 1 mole of MgS, then we have 1 mole of Mg. Okay? If it would have been MgOH2, for every 1 mole of magnesium hydroxide, we would have 2 moles of hydroxide. So our subscript's going to dictate how many moles there are. And we know that in 1 mole of magnesium, what is the mass of 1 mole of magnesium? 24.30 grams. And so we should get 2.24 times 10 to the 4th grams of magnesium for every one of these. Any questions? Okay, flip over. You will have something very similar to this on your homework, unless you already did it, for tonight. And I would say that this is a format that you should get used to and be ready for. And it says do your work below. So you need to be showing that work. So let's work a couple of these. If I have sulfuric acid and I have 98 grams, or the molar mass is 98.0, the mass is 0.825, I need to find the moles and the number of atoms. So we have 0.825 grams. Catherine, you can grab the homework's right up there if you want to grab a sheet. I don't know if we'll get to that, but you can get it. Grab that one. Yep. Oh, go ahead. And we are in grams, and we have our molar mass, and we know that in 1 mole there is 98 grams. And that should get me to 3 sig figs, 0.00842 moles. And then the next one, it says we need to get that to atoms or formula units or molecules. Yes, Lauren? Huh? Okay, that's fine. And we're going to multiply this answer here by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. And that is in 1 mole. And what do we get? 5.07 times 10 to the 21. The one I do want to look at real quick is the unknown. We know the mass in grams and we know the moles. So how can we find the molar mass? So we're going to take 56.8 grams and divide it by 0.4676 moles. And to 3 sig figs, I get 119 grams per mole. Huh? And then if we do the last part, if we have 0.476 moles, and we multiply that by our molar mass, or Avogadro's number, we should get 2.87 times 10 to the 23. Are there any questions on how to do those? Since there will be some on that your homework. All right, one problem and I'm done. Percent composition. So percent composition, determine the percent composition of each element in nickel 2 phosphate. On the AP exam, they would probably just say determine the composition or determine the percent of nickel in nickel 2 phosphate. But here I want you to go ahead and determine all of them. So when we do percent composition, remember percent composition is just part over whole, what part you're looking for, times 100 to get your percent. So you always hear me say part over whole, part over whole. So here we have nickel, phosphorus, and oxygen. So we need, each one of these are going to need the whole. So, what is the molar mass of nickel phosphate? 366.01 or 4? Did you say? 01? 0.01. So 366.01. And nickel is 176.1. So when we get that, I get 48.1%. If you go to this question, it doesn't have any numbers in there. Just go, as a general rule, 3 sig figs. If there's nothing in there, general rule, 3 sig figs. Phosphorus I get for 61.95, and I get 16.9%. And for oxygen, I got 127.99 for a total of 35.0%. And luckily, that all comes up to 100%. Any questions on percent composition? Okay, so the next question is, oops, not that.